Welcome to the smartest people in the room. We are glad you are here, and just by showing up today, you're already demonstrating your very own smarts. Since today is our final episode before Thanksgiving, I want to pause and challenge each of us to take note of all of our many blessings and the things that we have to be thankful for. With that said, I am so thankful for the opportunity to present these sessions, which feature truly remarkable people and the work they do day to day to make their mark in the music industry. Today, I'm pleased to present two people who may not be very well known across the broader music industry, but the product have developed is quickly becoming very popular, and I suspect these two guys may not be below the radar much longer. And finally, I promise you will leave today smarter and more enlightened than you arrived. Before we get started, please let me take care of some business. First, to the audience, please feel free to introduce yourselves in the chat window. The reason we do these webinars is twofold. First, we want to showcase really smart people and the amazing work they do day to day in the music industry. But the second reason is a bit more nuanced. Many of you know that I am a music industry headhunter. I run the music practice at Turnkey ZRG, and I place music executives in roles throughout the industry. So by definition and function, I help people connect with companies. In this series, my goal is to help you make more connections, and I invite you to take full advantage of that opportunity. Specifically, I invite you to engage with the speakers and the other attendees in the chat of the Zoom. Please introduce yourselves, share your LinkedIn profile, say hello to your friends, and make some new ones, and ask questions of all of our speakers. We will try to address as many of those as possible during the session. Also, and this is important, please make sure your chat is set to address everyone, not just the host and speakers. I want to thank our program sponsors for without their support, we could not do this for free. Hang on a minute, that's weird looking. There, got to get my sponsors up there because I got to thank them properly. I want to thank First Horizon Bank, Turnkey ZRG, the Tennessee Entertainment Commission, Tennessee Brew Works, Better Than Booze, and MedJet. Also, guys, I want to comment on MedJet for just a second ago because what they do is really impactful for the music industry. I don't know if you guys are fans of Matthew Sweet, who is one of my favorite all-time alt-rock singer-songwriters, but he had a major stroke last week touring in Canada. A lot of managers and artists who are constantly on the road are getting older. None of us are getting younger. Matthew had a stroke while out on tour, and they had to launch a GoFundMe to get him moved home for appropriate treatment and a long recovery. Had he been a MedJet member, all of those costs would have been paid for by the company. So you can pay $315 a year to get a free $60,000 air ambulance transport if you need one. So think about that for a moment. If you're traveling in Europe or Japan, that cost is 100 grand to 200 grand. So MedJet is a very inexpensive solution for that problem. Just thought I would say that. Let's get down to business today, guys. In one seat today is my longtime friend, Neil Kohler. Neil is a serial entrepreneur with a 35-year history of helping to successfully launch brands in the toy and entertainment space. After graduating from the University of Virginia, he sharpened his selling skills at the Procter & Gamble Company. Neil quickly realized that his professional sales training could be deployed to help emerging toy companies increase distribution and grow at major national retailers like Walmart, Target, and Toys R Us, and many others. Neil's toy resume spans the successful introductions of Fanoodle pool toys, the Cranium board game and family of games, Funko Pops, and many other successful brand launches. Growing up in a win-win era of negotiation helped Neil settle on the title of Chief Solution Broker, which epitomizes his brand of active listening and customer-first solutioneering. Today, Neil invests his energy in his latest brand creation, Tiny Vinyl, which according to the RIAA is the first new physical platform for recorded music in over 20 years. And we're going to dive in deep on Tiny Vinyl in just a moment. And joining Neil is our pal, Drake Coker. Drake is the CEO of Nashville Record Pressing. As the leader of the company, Drake is deeply committed to culture and purpose, driving a philosophy at NRP that is clear and simple. Be cool, don't suck, and kick ass. It is a playful reminder that this life is a gift and we're all here to lift up people and leave things better than we found them. In 2016, Drake launched Scratch Vinyl, aiming to reinvent vinyl manufacturing, which led him to his current role at NRP. Throughout his career, Drake has drawn on his capacity for innovation to help brands like Target, Microsoft, and RH translate creativity into business value. He has led the development of groundbreaking technology and business models in the music industry, securing significant funding for creative startups, building key B2B partnerships, and negotiating unique catalog-wide licenses with major labels. He builds teams focused on pioneering technologies, manufacturing processes, and direct-to-consumer solutions. Folks, it is my pleasure to welcome these two rock stars to our platform today. Let's get it going. So, boys, welcome.
Thanks, Tom. Very generous introduction. It's great to be here.
Yeah, exactly. Love to see you both.
Well, listen, guys, this is such an honor for me. And to the audience that follows me regularly, they're realizing that I never conduct these interviews. I don't like to be on stage. I like to be side stage. But this tells you just how much I admire and respect the cool things that you all are doing, because I want to be involved with this thing. It's going to be fun.
Yeah,
so
thanks.
I want to start with Drake. Drake, you're kind of new to Nashville, aren't you? How long you been in town here?
August of 21. I'd been in LA about 20 years before that. After doing lots of things, founded Scratch Vinyl in 2014 and basically spent 7 years pushing that along in LA. And as you said, that led to an opportunity to move to Nashville to build and run Nashville record pressing. And it was too good of an opportunity to say no to. So here I am.
And what exactly was Scratch Vinyl?
We developed a wholly new process by which vinyl can be manufactured. There's really been very little evolution, very little innovation in traditional vinyl manufacturing since, the late 60s, honestly. And so we invented a way to make records one at a time on demand. And we coupled this with a go-to-market platform that was driven by a mobile app, which was not only potentially the most complete record store on the planet, because only a very small percentage of the available catalog actually makes it to vinyl at any one time, but it also let customers, fans, do really cool things like build their own records, like a vinyl mixtape.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Now, what became of that?
It's just simmering. Just simmering.
On the back burner. You got distracted on bigger and better things.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm curious, who recruited you to NRP? Was there a headhunter involved in that transaction?
There was not. It was very old school. So I'd gotten Scratch to the place of where this wasn't just an idea. We had actually created this new technology. We had working systems. We had a demo studio in LA where you could walk in. I could put a phone in your hand. You could design your own record on the phone. It took about a minute and a half. And the equipment that actually would produce the record was right there in the room. And you could sit and watch your record made, listen to it in real time. And in order to be able to launch, it was really pretty special. In order to be able to launch, I needed to raise some additional capital. And so I was chasing lots of potentials. But one of the primary ones was GZ Media, which is the largest vinyl record manufacturer in the world based in the Czech Republic. And they have significant operations in North America. At that time, there were 2 other plants, Precision Record Pressing in Toronto and Memphis Record Pressing in Memphis. And in the midst of discussing a possible investment in Scratch and lots of back and forth, it came to light that they needed to build a new operation here in Nashville and asked me to come here and do that.
Very cool. So 2 of the biggest vinyl pressing plants happen to be in the state of Tennessee. Is that what I heard you say?
Yeah, that's absolutely true. In fact, the 2 biggest in the U.S. are in Tennessee, Nashville Record Pressing, my plant, and Memphis Record Pressing, our sister company over in Memphis, obviously. And then our parent company, our operation outside of Prague in the Czech Republic, is the biggest plant in the world.
Very cool. Well, we're going to come back to NRP in a moment. Neil, tell me how you landed in Nashville and where'd you come from?
Yeah, that's as we say in the South now, I'm a carpetbagger, Tom. I came down from New York out of college. I got hired by Procter and Gamble, and they lied to me and told me that they would move me to a real city in the 80s, and Nashville was never on my radar, but they moved me to Nashville, Tennessee, and I've been here for long enough to be a full-fledged Tennessean now, over 30 years, and I never expected to stay, but it's a great city to raise kids, and it's been a great city for my business opportunities as well. And I actually, as you mentioned in the preamble, I've been in the toy business, which is not a Nashville's not a natural hub for that, but it's easy for me to get to all of the major retailers from here, and it actually has worked out very, very well from a business standpoint.
So when you introduce yourself as a party to somebody, you say, I'm in the toy business, they immediately think, well, sex toys?
Yeah. Well, I lead them along to say, they say, oh, really? The toy, I mean, because it's unusual, right? Especially here. And I lead them along to believe that they say, oh, really, toys? And I say, yeah. And they like, what kind of toys? And my wife hates this. She always hates this. And I say, well, adult toys, like the kind, that some of them take batteries. And they're like, what? And they're like, and then, their eyes roll up in their head and they're all nervous and they're not sure what to say to me because I'm like, and then I go like, well, somebody's got to be in that business and it's very profitable. And then they're like really nervous and they want to walk away from me, go to the bar, get away, whatever. And I say, like board games. And they're like, what? And I said, yeah, like adult party games and things like that, like Cranium and Settlers of Catan and Ticket to Ride and games that people know. And then they're like, oh God, so relieved. Thank God you're not. My wife is beet red at that point. She's like, don't do that anymore.
So
Yeah.
Cranium was a really hot property for a few years.
Yeah,
you were involved with that.
I got lucky in early 2000s. The founder of Cranium was a guy named Richard Tate, who was just an amazing guy. We lost him to COVID, unfortunately. And Richard was trying to build a company, and he's leaving Microsoft, where he was the first ever employee of the year. And he knew Bill Gates.
Smartest guy in the room.
Yeah, definitely the smartest guy in the room. And he hired me to be his head of sales, and we got Cranium up off its feet globally, and it was pretty successful. We had a lot of fun with that. And
if I remember, wasn't Cranium the very first non-food product ever sold at Starbucks?
It was actually, yeah. Starbucks was a launch pad for Cranium, and it was very successful there. And I mean, it's just a super product. I mean, the secret sauce in Cranium was that Richard identified that the people that didn't like word games or hated spelling, hated playing Scrabble, but when they got asked to play Scrabble, or if they couldn't act and they were asked to play charades, or if they didn't know how to hum or sing a song or whatever, they didn't shine. They didn't have a chance to shine. So Richard created a game where there were different aspects of every great game, and everybody had a chance to shine in Cranium. So it was super fun. Yeah. And that was very successful. And I had a lot of, as a result, got a lot of access and relationships established with the major retailers.
Very cool. So now I want to pivot to this new thing that you're working on, Neil. This sounds really cool. Tiny vinyl. What is tiny vinyl and why should we care about it?
Yeah, that's a great question, Tom. Well, I'm going to tell you the origin story of tiny vinyl and what was happening in the marketplace and what I observed and how I met Drake. Drake and I were introduced through a series of friends and we became acquainted, but that had nothing to do with business. We were just socially acquainted. And I noticed in the toy industry that over the last 10 years, truly the toy industry is mostly about miniaturization of real things. I mean, every Barbie doll is just a miniature human. Every Matchbox car is a small version of a regular car. But I noticed that the trend was really accelerating 8 to 10 years ago. And I brought some examples of some of the hottest toys in America today that you can buy, real life, small miniature versions of turtle wax or a Dole pineapple can. This is something you can buy in Target today. They're in a company called Zuru that sells this under a product called Mini Brands, and it's one of the hottest things in the toy business. Miniature Sun-Made raisins box that's less than an inch tall, and kids love these, and actually adults collect them as well because they're cute and adorable, and they're kind of like they're very realistic. They're very much like real life things. This is a miniature etch and sketch that is 10% the size of a real etch and sketch.
Does it actually work?
Oh yeah, it
Is it
totally
op-
works. And that's one of the keys is that these things are like really authentic. This one actually has dials. It really works. I got lucky in some ways. In my toy career, I got around this company called Funko, which I think you mentioned in the preamble. Funko makes a product that everybody that I show is kind of familiar with called Pops. And Funko Pops, this is such a successful business that they went public. And we launched with them 15 years ago. And every retailer in the world carries Funko Pops now in their toy department. Well, Funko had so much success that they created miniature Funko Pops. This
Ah,
this retails for $8.99, and this guy retails for $5.99.
no kidding.
Right? But that trend of miniaturization was happening in the toy business. And then I was actually just chatting with Drake one day, and I said, is it even possible? I mean, vinyl has been surging. He was telling me how many records that Nashville Record Press produces, and they're growing because vinyl is just on fire. I said, would it be possible to make an authentically pressed vinyl record that actually plays? And how small can we make one? I mean, a 12-inch record is cool. I love them. But what if we made one really, really small, and how could we do it? And I put that out there, and Drake, being very creative and entrepreneurial himself, challenged the engineers in his company to solve the challenges around that because it's not straight line. It's not a straight line. There's quite a bit of physics involved. And Drake, I'm going to turn it over to you and tell you a little bit, ask you to tell us how GZ helped us solve that problem.
Yeah, well, first of all, to give everybody an idea, this is what we're talking about. This actually is a tiny vinyl. And the idea is to create a 4-inch version of a full-size 12-inch LP, right? Authentic in every way. So what's cool about this package is that, which is what we're doing right now with and for Neil, is that they're single pocket gatefolds, right? So there's lots of art. There ends up being a printed sleeve inside of each gatefold, just like you would get in a 12-inch record. And then this little guy is actually a 4-inch authentically pressed vinyl record that has a track in each side, 4 inches of material with full custom labels, right? Playable on any traditional turntable, traditional lift and drop turntable. I think we're even going to do a little demo later. So just to give everybody an idea what's going on. And it's been super cool. Vinyl has been obviously one of the hottest stories in music for quite a while. Certainly what's been happening in the last 12 or 18 months is a bit of a slowdown in the growth, or at least concerns that there have been. That's not necessarily what we're seeing on the manufacturing side. But the idea of having the opportunity to partner with Neil and the Tiny Vinyl team and innovate and develop a new format, really, that could become a platform was just too good to pass up, right? And so when you put GZ, our parent company, together with the resources across the group, not only do we have sort of just a massive amount of traditional vinyl manufacturing between our plant in the Czech Republic and the 3 here in the US. We actually can press 500,000 records a day. That's in 24 hours. We also have very significant resources and a level of vertical integration and technical expertise that's just unmatched. And so as a result, we were able to kind of identify the problems. I had a good sense of sort of what some of the biggest problems were going to be coming in after the work that I had done in LA. And so we went to work and figured out how to first master these things, and then get them through galvanics, which is how we make the stampers, the molds that actually go in the presses, and then have evolved a manufacturing process specific to this product so that we can pick these things out, and we are starting to see that we've got, lots of examples. I think we're about 10 titles in right now. And it's been nothing but fun. And I think that that's a really important thing to share here in this conversation, right? Because I think that a lot of people have looked at vinyl as being sort of the pinnacle of recorded music, like the format that you really want to collect and own. Outside of a live experience, it's the next best thing. People tend to be very particular about their vinyl collections and the quality of their vinyl. We certainly work very, very hard and not only put in a lot of time, but expend a lot of resources in trying to make some of the best records in the world. But I think in the midst of all that, we can forget that primarily more than anything else, vinyl is supposed to be fun. It's not supposed to be perfect. It's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to bring joy to people's lives, right? And that's, I think, one of the things that's really powerful about the partnership and the collaboration that I've got with Neil and that NRP and GZ have with Tiny Vinyl is that we get a chance to really try to bring a whole new package of fun and excitement and collectability and reinvigorated passion to the space. So, if you do this right, which is what we're trying to do, it shouldn't matter to anybody on this panel or on this call how difficult these are to make. What should matter is how much you love them and how cool they are. So, we're getting there. And I think that we're starting to deliver some product to the market that's really high quality. People seem to be getting very excited about it. So we're excited for a lot more to come. And this is obviously a big part of this conversation.
Cool. So that when you held that up, it sure looks like the exact replica of an album. In other words, same gatefold, same insert, same artwork. I mean, it's basically a album in miniature, right?
Yeah, and in fact, if you really want to talk about it in the miniature world, this is just a 1/3 scale, exact model, exact duplicate of a 12-inch vinyl record.
Yeah.
So you've mentioned a couple times that the market seems to like it. You've done to 9 pressings. Does that mean 9 individual records for like different labels and things?
I think we're actually closer to 10. Don't steal one from us right now. I mean,
everyone's important right now, Tom.
Right.
We actually we've just issued an order for the 12th one, and we just released this last week. Blake Shelton released his new single Texas on Tiny Vinyl, and BMG contracted with us to do this, and they shipped it out as a radio promotion. It's really easy, fits in your pocket, fits in a regular envelope. And so they shipped it out as a part of the radio promotion tool. And Blake charted the best radio weekend of his entire career, which is quite storied and quite an incredible career. So we're really pleased with what BMG was able to do with this. This was TV 008. Tom, one of the things that we do, taking a page from the toy world, every Funko Pop that's collectible has a number attached associated with it, including even this little one. This one has a number as well. Every Tiny Vinyl edition will also be numbered on the spine right here. You'll see there's a Tiny Vinyl brand and a Tiny Vinyl number on the spine. And we also replicate that number by etching it into the dead wax on the record itself, so that the collectors out there really appreciate that kind of attention to detail. The importance, as Drake mentioned, of making it an authentically pressed vinyl record that played on any 33 1/3 turntable. So that was important to us, that it was not a 45, not a not a 78, not special equipment, not something that anybody that had a turntable that would play a 33 record can play tiny vinyl. And that was part of the kind of value or the authenticity promise we wanted to make.
So Charles just asked a question in the chat. It's at 33 RPM. And
That's
so
right.
I heard you say correct. So I tell you what, let's demo this. Drake, prove it. Prove that you can drop one of these on a standard turntable and it'll play.
That's great. Everybody, I've got a turntable and a rack here behind me. So I'm going to do is I'm going to shift the video. I've got a little detail camera showed up that'll show you exactly what's going on the turntable. I'm also going to shift my audio. So instead of trying to pick up the playback off of some mics, we're pulling a direct feed off the amplifier, which I think will give you a good sense of how this thing actually sounds. So as I clip over audio and video, Neil will sort of demo what's going on. But just for clarity, I'm going to shift the video very quickly here and just give you guys all one little quick heads up. There's a turntable. That's got Coldplay's new record on it. That's a 12-inch LP. It's there to give you a sense of scale and obviously exactly what the size of these tiny vinyls are and the way the discs work. It's pretty cool. They actually just cover the center label of a traditional 12-inch LP. We'll go from there. So here, I'm going to clip over the audio now. Neil, take it away.
Okay. Well, Drake is going to demo. I think you're going to demo the Lindsey Sterling tiny vinyl that we launched with Concord Music Group, and they put it out at Urban Outfitters for Black Friday. Lindsey Sterling did a collaboration with Sabrina Carpenter. This is called Warmer in the Winter, and it has 2 songs. On the A side, it's Carol of the Bells, and on the B side, she did a collab with Sabrina Carpenter, which is, well, you're about to hear, You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch.
I love the hiss and the pop of the vinyl there.
There's the jacket. Thanks, Drake. That's great. I think the key thing to note there is that it's on a 33 1/3 turntable. Any needle drop turntable will play tiny vinyl. That is important, I think, to call out that when I was growing up, which is a long time ago, but I got a turntable that had automatic return on it. And there are some auto return turntables in the market, Tom, which when the arm gets over to a certain place, it just has set. The manufacturer of the turntable has set it to pick up. And in some cases, tiny vinyl won't play on those turntables, which is it's a small percentage of the turntables out there, but it's something that's important to note because we're actually inside the label, not just inside the dead wax. So far, we haven't had much static about that. And we've got a lot of TikTok videos, people playing them, and everybody, they're collectible, they're totally adorable. They're portable because you can take it and put it in your purse or your pocket. And they're affordable because right now, 12-inch vinyls are retailing, let's say $25 to $40, depending on what the product is. And we're seeing tiny vinyl in the marketplace anywhere from $15 to even $20. Like we have one touring act, Dexter and the Moonrocks, who's put it on their merch table. And they're selling them very successfully at $20 every night. They're selling $25 to $35 a night at $20. So cost is very competitive. I don't want to get into a lot of that kind of detail here, but anybody who's interested can reach out and ask us for more detail on pricing from a wholesale standpoint. What we try to do is make tiny vinyl a platform that allows this like Spotify trained customer who's got a short attention span, is interested in singles mostly, not necessarily album purchasers, and likes the convenience and portability of Spotify, and marry them with somebody who's a big fan, loves either the nostalgia or the quality of vinyl, the connection with the art of vinyl, and brings the best of both worlds, where it's an affordable, portable, and adorable solution that is not a full album. I mean, honestly, I haven't listened to a full album, and I love vinyl. I haven't listened to a full album in a long time. And I think most young consumers are going to love tiny vinyl for that reason, especially as tour merch, where it's easy to pick up at the table and it's relatively affordable compared to other things. So we're excited about that.
Yeah, and let me
And
just
it
really
goes,
quickly. Yeah, go ahead, Tom.
oh, no, that's fine. I was going to say it fits right in your pocket. I mean, it's 4 inches
Yeah.
square. So it's
Yeah, I mean, I
not
think
like you're
that,
lugging around an LP.
yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of things about this which makes this a really, like, in terms of a physical object, right? Something to covet and develop a relationship with, you know. It's kind of something you'll hear people talk about a lot, but to talk about really the metaphysics of this thing, like the way that as humans we develop relationships to the objects in our lives. This thing is, tiny vinyl is small and it's adorable. And there's something I think about it that creates and we're getting a lot of feedback, creates a real interest to have a lot of them, makes it very collectible, right? But to be clear, this isn't a toy. This is a real record in every way, shape, and form. The runtime is shorter than a 12-inch LP, which just is about physics and real estate, but this is an absolutely real record, right? And so if you want to talk about this a little bit from sort of an architectural or a design standpoint, I think what's interesting is that we know what's going on in streaming. We also know that vinyl has been an incredible growth story and something that there's a lot of passion around. We'll see sort of what happens in the traditional vinyl market with continued growth and when we're going to try to find a little more equilibrium between supply and demand. But there's a lot of information out there that particularly in the US, a huge number of people that are buying vinyl records as collectibles rather than as a playback format. You know, there are statistics out there which at times seem incredulous but continue to get repeated, that over 50% of people that buy vinyl in the US don't own a turntable, right? And so when you look at streaming, there's so many things that are great about it. And I think that three of the biggest attributes are that it's cheap, right? It's convenient or portable, and it's ubiquitous. And so it's kind of there all the time for anyone. You think about vinyl, it's almost the opposite. It's expensive, it's pretty inconvenient, definitely not portable. And it may not raise to the level of being rare, but it's certainly something that you have to work a little bit to get a hold of, right? Also, really interesting set of attributes given how much people love their vinyl and love collecting it. So part of the idea of this was to put these things together and to come up with something that was relatively inexpensive in comparison to traditional vinyl, so that it had more availability, right? It was more accessible to more people. That it fit people's lives and collecting behaviors a little bit better than 12-inch vinyl by being smaller, easier to carry around, easier to manage, right? And that it was something that while it was out there, you know, they weren't everywhere, kind of splitting that difference between ubiquitous and rare. And by getting sort of a stack of physical attributes into the product that feel like they bring really, really good elements of streaming and physical together, the notion was we could try to build a bridge, right? We could try to build a bridge because living is the ultimate experience. Streaming is the thing that we kind of do as we're running around in our lives. People tend to, I think, really gravitate towards physical because it gives us something to collect and it gives them sort of a behavior to participate in that gets them a little bit closer to a live experience. I mean, we're just trying to find that seam where we can help really get a format out there that fits that space at least as well, if not better, than traditional vinyl for a nice chunk of the market. And so far, it seems like it's working really well.
So there's some good questions here in the chat. Great friend of mine, Catherine Richardson, who's one of the best publicists in this whole industry, is quizzing us about cost, which, Neil, you sort of danced around. But she wants to know when will they widely be available for us to order for clients? In other words, Catherine represents lots of possible outlets for your product. How could she engage with you, or how could they engage with you? And what does that look like in terms of turnaround times, lead times?
Yeah,
Why don't I take care of the supply chain side stuff, Neil, really quickly, and then you can jump in terms of the tiny vinyl stuff. How's that sound?
sure.
So it's an excellent question. Thanks, Catherine. We've worked really hard to expand our capacity. To begin with, it was limited at about 60,000 discs a month. We've recently come over a hurdle where we're going to be able to expand that capacity very, very quickly to fairly large numbers. So I don't think that the ability to supply the project is going to be an issue. Right now, lead time is 60 days from the time a project becomes workable. Workable in the vinyl world means the day on which all of the audio and artwork and all the sign-offs are delivered to Tiny Vinyl from Tiny Vinyl's customer. We can turn a delivery around in 60 days from there. So really, the answer to that is now. Like, we're ready to go now. And Neil, why don't you jump in more with the, how to get to Tiny Vinyl and all of that?
It's a great question. Thank you for asking that question, Catherine. We have we've been working on this for 15 months, but we only started talking about it in August. And ironically, the very first meeting we had with anyone of any consequence about Tiny Vinyl was a small label in the UK, Communion Records, and they immediately said, "We want to do this. We've got a couple of singles coming out. We want to be pioneer Tiny Vinyl." We can produce Tiny Vinyl in 60 to 75 days from the date that we receive workable assets. They will be widely available. They are already available. Like I mentioned, when Lindsey Sterling is available at Urban Outfitters. You can buy it today on urbanoutfitters.com. And there are other titles out and circulating today. We've shipped, I don't know, something like maybe 30,000 total units, which is small, but we just got started, and we started in August talking to labels and managers and people like yourself, Catherine, who have clients who might find this interesting. The major releases for Tiny Vinyl, we've been fortunate enough because of some of the contacts that I've been able to continue in major retail. Target and Walmart and Amazon are all very interested, and Target is particularly interested in launching Tiny Vinyl in 2025, and that will happen. So we will have very wide distribution in 2025 through major mass retailers. And we are also getting an unbelievable amount of interest from major label groups to produce direct-to-consumer product, to create product that they can add for bundles or premium offers. One of the things that Lindsey Sterling is doing is she's giving Tiny Vinyl as part of her Best Fans gift pack in a gift bag that her top fans get. I don't know how she's doing that, but that's something they asked us to help them create. So the ways that our partners are using Tiny Vinyl, radio promotion, direct-to-consumer, tour merchandise, and we are going to go to mass retail. And that's something, we're a supplier to the labels, or we're a supplier to the artists or the management team or whomever is actually then going to push it into distribution. Tiny Vinyl is the vendor, and we make the product, but we don't sell it into, like, I'm not going to be the vendor to Target and Walmart and Amazon. Universal or Warner or Sony or whoever their supply chain people will be their vendor. They will be widely available early in 2025. But if you wanted to make Tiny Vinyl, or any of your clients did, we can initiate that process immediately. And we're doing it almost every day. We're starting a new Tiny Vinyl project.
Right, and just really quickly to add on to that, I mean, the design of Tiny Vinyl's go-to-market strategy is actually really focused on fitting into the current vinyl supply chain just seamlessly, right? So there's no disruption of the traditional relationship. So anybody that's a rights owner is able to make Tiny Vinyl, right? And then push it out through the distribution channels. And kind of the go-to-market strategies that they have, whether that's, merch on tour, or through e-com, or if there's retail partnerships or mass distribution or whatever. So it's a really great fit there. And just, Catherine, because I can see your question too, really quickly, right now the MOQ really that we're looking for is 2,000 units. We've got the ability to go a little bit smaller. If in fact, there's a real need for that. But those are very easy questions for you to be able to take to Neil and his team, and they can point you in the right direction to be able to get you some product as quickly as possible.
We want to be we've been fortunate in a sense because I don't know anything about the music business until, I mean, 6 months ago. We've come at this with a consumer products, collectibles, and authentic music point of view. But we haven't really come at it like a music industry insider might. And the idea we had was, let's get a lot of titles out there with as many partners as we can, because we have been asked by a couple of major talent artists, like with huge followings, like the very top artists, to do it and make 1 million units for them, which we could do. But the truth is, we don't want this to be a project that's identified with BTS or Taylor Swift or Garth Brooks solely. We want it to be a platform that any artist, anyone who owns the rights to their music, can make a tiny vinyl for whatever they want to do with it. And it's fun, Tom, you mentioned that the RIAA said that this is the first new physical platform that they've seen in 20 years, which I could not believe. I was like, what? But they told us that, yeah, of course it's going to chart towards gold and platinum. It's a song and will work for the labels. Luminate and Billboard said, yep, it'll chart. Lindsey Sterling's got a UPC code on the back of her tiny vinyl. Anytime that tiny vinyl sells, which it's selling extremely well at Urban Outfitters, I mean, extremely well, 15 times more than the buyer thought they were going to sell.
No kidding.
It's going great at Urban. I mean, I just pinch myself, Tom. It's been great. Because sell-through is what matters, not sell in. I can make a lot of tiny vinyl, but if the consumer's not pulling it off the shelf, and they are pulling it off the shelf at the one place we sell it at retail, at Urban, it's going great. And I mentioned the tour merch guys are really pleased. It doesn't take up any space. It's easy to move around. I'll show you. This is a full case pack. This is a full case pack of tiny vinyl, 50 units. So for Dexter and the Moonrocks, who are selling this on tour at $20, this is $1,000 of product for them at retail.
It's a shoebox.
The shoebox. And it's about
Wow.
$750 a profit. So, I mean, it's a massive success and takes up no space on the tour bus.
Yeah, it's a fraction of the size of a 50 12-inch LP, so it would be in a master carton.
Those are
great.
a brick. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And one thing I think that Neil's been talking a lot about, which is I think very important, particularly for this audience, is that the vision here is to think about tiny vinyl as a platform. It's a platform for artists and their teams and their labels to build stronger relationships to their fans. And thinking about it as a platform rather than a format, I think, is really important because, we've worked hard to create a platform here that has lots of attributes that creative people will be able to take advantage of in ways that we can't even possibly imagine. I mean, anything can go in these. Spoken word, an artist reading a poem. There's all kinds of possibilities with the art. We've already seen a wide array of ways that artists have been getting these into the marketplace as promos, as giveaways, in e-com, D2C, straight retail, right? So, this is about being able to encapsulate a piece of the magic that people feel when they listen to their favorite artists, and particularly see them live, and be able to get it to them and in their hands in a way that they can own and possess to create a stronger connection, right? This is all about building relationships, 100%.
So Kevin Klager asked a question on here. Are you going to make a miniature turntable to play them on? Is there a Sony Discman in the future here?
Yeah, the answer is that's a question we get asked a lot, actually. And I'll tackle that one, Drake. There is a Crosley, who is a electronics and actually a furniture manufacturer, has a mini disc player that plays a 3-inch mini injection molded mini disc, and they sell that product to sell the electronics and to get their brand out there. It's very clever. It's very cute. However, the mini disc player they sell doesn't play anything else, only their product, and their product only plays on that particular record player, which to me is totally fine, but it's not what we're about. We are a any platform, any turntable solution. And will we ever build a mini tiny vinyl record player? I don't know. I don't think so, but I don't know. I mean, we don't know where the brand might go. It could be one day that that would be fun and interesting to do if that's what the market wants. But it also, to me, would confuse the message, which is this can play on any turntable you have already. You don't need a special piece of equipment. So we're not in the short term planning to offer one.
Right. And by the way,
Very
that does tie it very nicely to this idea that, this is about building a platform, right, that helps give artists, their teams, their labels, and existing fans a way to connect inside the world and the ecosystem as it is right now, right? This isn't a play to sell people more hardware.
So let me ask you this. Could you envision creating a series of tiny vinyls for an entire LP? Say a record has 12 tracks on it, right? Could you create an individual tiny vinyl for each of those, and the artwork, once arrayed on the wall, would create some sort of piece of art?
Yep, exactly.
Well, Tom, it's actually exactly intentionally just 1/3 of a regular record. It's 1/9 of a record jacket. It's 1/3 the diameter. So we could build somebody, if they wanted to, could build a 9-pack that created the full jacket of a 12-inch piece of vinyl if they wanted to. Another thing we could do is some artists have asked us to do box sets, like let's do the entire album and release 10 tiny vinyls in a box set. And that's totally doable. What needs to be true for each one of those tiny vinyls is the songs need to be 4 minutes or less, or the content needs to be 4 minutes or less. So like if somebody wanted to talk about how they came up with the idea for a song or what it meant to them or how much they love their fans on one side of the tiny vinyl, they could make a collection of that as well. What we love about this, I was on the phone this morning with a group out of London called RUG. They're Andrew Lloyd Webber's merchandising company. And they have a very, very huge audience that comes to live performances every night of the year in a lot of cities around the world. 12-inch vinyl is very hard for them to sell. But tiny vinyl is perfect because they can put a song on one side, and then they could even put the local producer for the London show, say a Phantom of the Opera, on the other side talking about it. And nobody has any expectations. What they loved is they said, look, when you get this you expect this to be two sides of music. This is what everybody expects 12-inch vinyl to be, is usually two sides of music. Tiny vinyl is brand new. It can be anything. It's a blank canvas. So we think music's good on one side, but anything can go on the other side. And it could be two songs, what people are doing today. So
yeah, and we've built the capabilities into this thing that we can there's an awful lot we can do with it, specifically because we want to encourage and inspire people to take this thing to places that perhaps traditional 12-inch vinyl hasn't been.
So Catherine just asked a question, is there a website? I just put it in here. Catherine, I know what you're thinking for your consideration, because your job as a publicist is to gain more visibility and awareness of your client's work. I have a feeling that's where you're going with that. I think you're spot on.
Tom, I'll just say that tiny vinyl is new now. We are new. And it's been amazing. I've sold a lot of fun things in my life and had a lot of really wonderful meetings where people just love it. We have had a slew, like every meeting is like, oh my God, that's it. But it's new right now. And because it's new, like why Blake Shelton wanted to do it, his management team was like, when we send these to a radio station, they're going to play them. It's so cute. And like, they're going to open it up and they're like, what's this all about? And that's exactly what happened. And it's new now. We'd love to do for your consideration. It's maybe a little late for this year, but let's talk.
And Blake's team was loud and proud about how successful that was last weekend. He had the biggest ad day of his career last weekend. ad day means his song added to the rotation on that radio station, and it was the biggest ad day of his whole career, and he's had a long, successful career. Guys, I am so excited for what you're doing. As I mentioned in the introduction part of this, is you all are not household names yet, but I have a feeling you both are going to become, because I know your product is going to become a household name. So I want to encourage you to keep doing it.
Yeah, thanks, Tom.
Thanks,
I
Tom.
couldn't be more proud to know you all, and I'm excited for what you're doing. Guys, that's going to conclude today's Smartest People in the Room. As I let off today, I want you to think about what you should be thankful for. We're living a crazy world right now, and I am thankful for the opportunity to do what I do for a living. I'm the luckiest guy I know because I make my living going to concerts, and I get to hang out with guys like Drake and Neil and take inventory of what you're thankful for, and remember that as we venture into the holiday season. With that, I want to thank you for coming today. We'll be off next week because it is Thanksgiving, but we will be back here first Thursday in December, and we will deliver the best possible talking smartest people in the room we can deliver. So thanks for all your support, folks.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for coming.
Great to see you, everybody. Thanks,
Look forward to
Tom.
hearing from all of you. Take care.